interview, we're having a look at the SEAL system, which was a system manifestation that was developed through and from our very beingness within the mind consciousness system and the human physical body. Now, this SEAL system was how we sealed ourselves into a experiential contract in a process of time through which we had certain specific beingness relationship developments that manifested throughout our lives within the cycles of reincarnation from our pre-programmed life designs, and eventually throughout time, as we walked our various lives, we imprinted our pre-programmed life designs into our very beingness, and from there accumulated various purposes into our very beingness, and eventually would even resonate through our mind consciousness system and human physical body in later lives, where we'd start having these experiences of, for example, like where one would meet another human being and you'd speak the words, "I can't explain it, but I know I must be with this person." Or in terms of professions, I have this feeling inside me that that is the way I must go. I cannot define it or explain it to you. I just know that that's what I must do. Or in terms of one's future, where you have these feelings of, I'm going to be someone important, I just know it. Or I'm special and I cannot say what I'm going to do with my life, but I know whatever it is, it's going to be something huge. So it's those feelings that one have towards people, things, future, profession, experiences, and reality that is undefined, but that one will follow because of the nature of that feeling that you have within yourself, and as your mind, your beingness, and your human physical body. So let's have a look more specifically how this works. Within the cycles of reincarnation, within this existential system, with every life that we walked, we had a new mind consciousness system with a new pre-programmed life design path. And we cycled throughout lives in various purposes, meaning where your life would have a purpose of, for example, going into a specific relationship or going into a particular profession as direction, through initiating a movement in this world, through the purpose of simply walking the experience of having no money, the purpose of experiencing energy through enlightenment, purposes of going into certain positions or placements of importance or authority within business, corporations, money system. So in various lives you had various purposes. Your purposes was the one thing that would direct your entire life, the one thing that your entire life in this world will be about. That purpose was your pre-programmed life design path. Now, in most of the lives that you walked, what would happen is, due to the impact of that purpose in yourself, your very beingness would be to such an extent that it would imprint into your very self. Remember, in terms of how we were integrated into this world and reality, we were a being with a beingness substance That would be the very substance that we are as beings. And that integrated into the mind, and from the mind we integrated it all into the physical. So when you walked a purpose and it had an extensive impact on your very beingness, where it resonated throughout your mind and physical into your very core self, you would imprint that purpose into your very beingness as a thread and as like a signature. And throughout the lives, those signatures as purpose impacts, as pre-programmed life design paths that had an extensive impact on your very self and beingness, would accumulate as these threads. And eventually these threads would form an actual seal as a symbol. So you essentially accumulated purposes that resonated more with you as a being. That can be, for example, where you would imprint a purpose as pre-programmed life design path of relationship, because you thoroughly within your one life had this awesome, great, magnificent experience with the one, and would imprint that signature into your beingness. And it can also go into the opposite, where you had a life of no money, that imprinted into your very beingness as the extensive resistance toward ever facing such a life experience or experience through your very beingness ever again. So what then happens is all these purposes as pre-programmed life designs, as those one points, imprint, accumulate, and manifest eventually into an entire seal as symbol, as purposes that you have accumulated within your very beingness that manifest and become part of your very self, categorized and manifested within what it is you prefer experiencing and what it is that you don't prefer experiencing. And what happens within the unified consciousness field, within all the grid lines of this world and reality, was that seal would resonate through your beingness into the mind, into the physical, out into the unified consciousness field, and would guide you in terms of like, for example, relationships, where you will meet someone, it would activate a memory within the being's very presence. That memory would be in line with the signature of relationship, and the seal would resonate, and you would have this recognition, this experience of, I know I must be here. What is actually talking there is your purposed experiences that you've accumulated through past lives that's directing you. It's not necessarily to mean that that person is really the one you're supposed to be with, in terms of, if we have a look at practical physical reality, a being that would really assist and support who you are would manifest into a relationship where the two individuals would actually grow, expand, and realize in terms of becoming human beings that really in fact evolve. But instead we relate our relationships more to these seal imprints that we have accumulated throughout our lives. And mostly what happens is relationships fail, or if, for example, your pre-programmed life design path in one life has gone into conflict with your seal manifestation as symbol that resonated through your beingness, and you're not supposed to be in that relationship during that particular life, the relationship will fall and fail, and would cause so much internal mind conflict, self-conflict, physical conflict, that a being can simply completely shut down and ruin their entire lives simply because their pre-programmed life design in their mind went into conflict with their very beingness as purposes that they had accumulated throughout lives. And this is also why many human beings experience where they feel like they're living two lives, in terms of they know they're walking a certain life, but there's something else or someone else that they're supposed to do or be with. And that would be the conflict between the seal manifestation and your pre-programmed life design path. And sometimes your purposes that you accumulated would go into conflict, where you had an extensive fear, for example, of having no money, but at the same time, this desire to be with this particular person, neither of which can be explained or defined, but then what would manifest is your life would align where you'd be with a person but have no money. And that's how these purposes would sometimes merge with each other, where you'd have both circumstances of previous lives, purposes that impacted on you, that starts merging both the good and the bad. So within what we're walking in destiny is assisting and supporting you to be able to participate in your world and reality within the starting point of making informed decisions, where you don't simply fall into relationships or walk into directions simply because you have this unknown feeling or experience guiding you into that direction. I mean, just practically have a look at the context of accepting and allowing such an approach. You've got no idea, for example, the actual nature of this person you're about to go into a relationship with, their mind, their internal conversations, their history, their backchats, their secrets, their deceptions. All of that becomes irrelevant because you're so possessed within this experience. And most of the time, as you walk the relationships, most of the reality of a person comes out, and then we go into conflict and blame and judgment and processes of withdrawal and things like that, all of which would have been unnecessary if you really got to know the person first and made an informed, practical decision of whether you can really walk with this being throughout your life. And for that, we have the From Relationships to Agreements course available in the Desteniiprocess, where we assist and support you to get to know yourself, how to get to know another human being as you've gotten to know yourself, how to make a decision about walking a relationship or agreement with another human being, how to practically orientate your world and reality where both can live together in stability, in harmony, in directing yourself with another individual internally and externally to manifest a life that is more than constant, continuous experiences of comparison and jealousy and competition and conflict internally and externally about trivial things, but assert yourself and you're living for your life to be and become so much more. And then with, for example, making decisions about studying, profession, where to position and place yourself in this world, again, this is something that you're assisted and supported with in deciding for yourself practically, having a look at who you are, what you're good at, what you're capable of doing, what do you know can you assist and support yourself with to become better in, what resources you need, what facilities, what processes you need to walk to become effective in the world system, to position yourself in this world, and not to simply walk into an direction based on a feeling. I mean, that is completely not taking into consideration yourself, the profession, the practical reality of what you really in fact have to walk. And following feelings has always walked you into a point where you realize the reality of what you decided is completely different to what the feeling initially gave you. So with this point of the seal imprinting within your beingness, mind and physical, understand it's still existent because it's become you within your very mind participation and physical participation. And the primary points where we tend to make decisions in feeling is money and sex, which is your profession, job, and relationships. And you can make your life so much more effective in becoming practically physical reality informed before you make decisions, and walking into situations, relationships, and experiences with no practical reality reference, understanding, concept, or insight. And we essentially walk blind into relationships and directions in our world and reality and meet the consequences later. So you can really assist and support yourself to change your world and reality and self from consequence, in riding the waves of consequence, in walking into things blindly, to responsibility, direction, and manifestation, where you can really assist and support yourself to stop unnecessary consequences and time loops and kind of stumbling and fucking around in this world, and assist and support yourself to become an effective living being that takes responsibility for the decisions that are made, for really becoming informed, getting to know yourself, your world, and people before simply walking in. Alright, thank you very much.